Looks like you got like 100 testers back there working for you, Jason.
I have to admit that's not real, Phil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know it looks pretty real.
All right.
Actually, if
Well,
I did use
well,
my virtual background, I'm in like a dark basement.
okay. Welcome everyone to our webinar slash fireside chat today. My name is Phil Liu, and I've got Jason Arbon here today, and we're going to be talking about um, what we call AI-informed testing and an AI-informed testing solution to help folks solve some of the perennial perpetual testing problems that we have, such as slow testing and missed bugs. So we're going to get started here. Let's see if I can make this go. My name is Phil Liu, and I'm the founder and CEO of XBOSoft. We've been doing block and tackle testing for about almost 20 years now. So I've been in the industry for quite a long time. I've seen so many things. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about how old we were. And he said, we did so many stupid things and foolish and made so many mistakes, but the thing is that nobody knows about them because back then we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have social media, and we didn't even have internet. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So we have been in the business for a long time, seen everything from all manual testing, and then when automation came to light back in the about 15 years ago, so all the tools and test management and so on. And I'm really honored to be here with Jason. XBOSoft has developed a partnership with Jason, and I'll let Jason introduce himself.
Cool.
Or maybe
Yeah,
he needs no introduction.
I can know whatever. I'm much younger than Phil, and I never made any mistakes. Uh, but yeah, I've been a software tester nerd for a long, long time, and had some fun companies and teams and projects, and but I've been particularly focused lately on just AI and software testing and kind of the intersection of that. And I've known Phil for actually that seems like forever, uh, as he runs like the oldest also oldest. That's your credibility. Is the oldest software conference in the world, and they're one of the most like the highest bar, by the way, that people actually write white papers and they have to think about things and there's peer review. So I've always super respected Phil for running that and getting testers together. And Phil's literally seen everything in history because he's seen them all presented every year. So happy working with him.
Great. So let's just dive right in here. I don't know if anybody knows, but In the Room Where It Happens, that comes from the play, the musical called Hamilton. And I think that you're in the right place today. I first wanted to I went to Antarctica last month, and a few of my friends were asking me about it, and I wanted to share this slide because I was talking to a guy a few days ago, and he was telling me about all the opportunities in AI and his business on machine learning and things like that. And he said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. And I said, really? And I explained to him that I'd actually been to Antarctica last month, and the tip of the iceberg really had a lot of meaning for me because if you get up really close to the iceberg, what you can see is that, most of the iceberg is underneath. You can't even see it, right? You can see down, the water is really clear there, so you can see down pretty far. And what you can see is that it's so big underneath the water, it's just incredible in terms of the magnitude of what's underneath the water. And 80% of the iceberg is actually underneath the water. So it's really quite amazing. You can see that we were out on these little boats there. You can see a little boat in the background there. That was one of the folks on our trip. And it kind of brings up another idea that I had that it's kind of related to our talk today. And that's the 80/20 rule, which is a rule that was not really a rule, but a principle based on the power law by a guy named Pareto in Italy. And what he discovered was that, and it's a problem that we still have today, is that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the people. And so the thing about the Pareto principle is that you have a big number on the top and a smaller number on the bottom. That's basically it. And it doesn't have to add up to 100. So you can put whatever you want to, and as long as you want to have majority of the results come from a minimal amount of work, you could think of it like that. So I would say that, in the past we had 100, 100, right? So we had 100% of the bugs were found with 100% of the effort being manual testing. Um, and then maybe we thought that we could accomplish 60%. A lot of people want goals and I want 60% automation, right? And they think that they're going to be able to do 60% automation with 30% of the effort, because they hire test automation guys and they're coding and they're running these tests and so on. And the problem is that what they don't realize is that all these test scripts, a lot of them break and they need maintenance. And so they end up, maybe they can get some leverage there and getting 60% of the results with 50% of the effort, maybe not, right? And so a lot of the test automation projects that we work on, of course, we try to increase that number on the top and decrease the maintenance and effort on the bottom, the 50. And so what we're going to be talking about today, I hope, is really getting up that number on the top, getting maybe that's up to 95, and maybe getting that number on the bottom down to 10 or 5% of the effort required to get 95% of the results that we need in testing. And unlike some technologies like I think 10 years ago everybody was talking about blockchain, right? But blockchain needed a problem to solve. Well, we have a problem to solve, right? We're testers, we've been in the business for a long time, and these problems just keep persisting. Everything, I think probably the top left one, the top two or the top three on that row are the most prevalent ones in terms of not enough time, regression testing taking too long, automation scripts breaking, test cases being unmanaged. You know, um, I think Jason wrote in a recent article, he said, where there's smoke, there's fire. But on the other hand, where there's no smoke, there's probably no fire. And so managing these test cases and thinking about these test cases, the ones that don't need to be executed, is just as important as figuring out what needs to be executed. So we've got these problems here in automation and whatnot in testing that have been around for a long time. And so that's why I've been talking with Jason and working out our partnership and working with him on his product. First it was Checky.ai and then transformed itself into Testers.ai and with a lot more advanced features. And so we've been working closely with Jason on thinking about the direction of testing, how testers need to evolve, and what we're going to be doing in the future. And so, a lot of people say, oh, testing is going to go away, software testing is dead. And then others, say that, maybe they do some kind of speed-based testing. They may say, oh, yeah, testing is, never going to go away. Well, I think it is not going to go away as well, but it is going to change. And I pulled this picture on the left. This is a McDonald's, right? So cashiers are pretty much no longer needed. And I think the same thing is going to be happening with lower level manual testers. They are no longer needed. So our job is going to be changing away from that to managing robots, basically. And that's why we formed this partnership with Jason about using technology and using it in a way that removes any of the things that I guess you could say negative things or weaknesses of AI and complements and supplements those things in order to make us stronger and better than we were before. I'll let Jason talk about this. This is straight from his website on Testers.ai on some of the features that Testers.ai can deliver. Jason, you do want to cover this a little bit?
Oh, we can just skip to the
Oh,
final
we
slide.
can just skip to it. Skip to the real stuff, huh? Okay. All right.
Yeah, everything, all the data is encoded only for AI robots. from the last few.
All right, let's see testers.ai in action.
Cool. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. And I guess I also want to add to what Phil's saying is that what we're really excited about doing is partnering with his team because his team's got a bunch of testing experts up and down the stack, everything from manual regression testing, exploratory testing, test automation, kind of project test managers, and then even what's cool about Phil's role is he also is selling testing services, right, and marketing testing services. So you can kind of understand it's a great playground to understand how AI can inform all those activities, right? Not just how to click, how to fix a selector on a Selenium script or how to ask ChatGPT to add, two more variations of this test case or something by copy pasting stuff into a chat window. The idea is like, how do you create the whole company? How do you make all of that work in AI informed, right? And with the goal of being better and smarter and everything. So Phil's really been opened up his team, asked and told them to try stuff, even if they don't want to, which is an interesting problem in the world today. And to kind of break down those barriers and actually see what it looks like in production with real clients and real software and real testing work. Um, so first thing to talk about, I guess, start is with kind of what does AI informed manual exploratory testing look like? So if you think about what testers are doing, manual and exploratory testers, they've usually got the browser window open. That's where their workspace. That's where they're working, and they're usually testing a client's web page in there, and they're typing inputs and they're browsing around the page looking for bugs. So what we built, and again, thanks to Phil's team, like we're getting really good data on real world clients and real world testing activities. But what you can do here is there's an extension for the browser. What we do is you use this to empower them with AI. So I mean, what would a dream be if you're a manual tester is that you're doing your work, and then what are your two things? You want to find bugs, and you want to create test cases and think of interesting creative tests. And so there's an AI to kind of try to help do that and make it as simple as possible with just a click. So I'll share if Phil will let me.
Yeah, sure. Let's see here.
I got permission.
Oh,
So you can see here quick, just on like say google.com, right? We'll do a quick demo of this. But this is what, Phil's testers are even doing this week is, so if you're on google.com, and why does it, sorry, Zoom wants to take over my machine. I will let it without reading it. So there's a little Chrome extension up here in the top corner, and it's got the old Chucky logo. But the idea is, well, what if we want the AI to help us, right? So we can come in here and say, help me with some test case ideas. And maybe we can pick any of these. Let's pick Zachary. So each of these different tester profiles, these are virtual testing agents. And what they do is they specialize in different areas, right? Some are very focused on usability, accessibility. Some are on like Zachary, like edge cases or bizarre, unexpected things, inputs and stuff too. Like what's the craziest test case you can think of, what the AI can think of? So if you're a manual exploratory tester on a web page and you go, hey, I wonder what the AI would think or suggest, right? It's basically everything's one click away. So let's click on Zachary and see what comes back. And again, I apologize for demo issues if there are any. This is my dev build. So let's see. Yeah, so Zachary's been thinking or is thinking. Let's see if it works. This is my dev build. Interesting. Oh, a quick note too is here, you can type anything you want to as well in here. You can say, hey, I don't care about accessibility issues or only focus on the header or the search bar, like whatever you want as a tester too, because you have the context of the business context of what the customer wants, what that regression or that exploratory session is about. And so you can type all that in there, and then those AI agents take that into account. So think of that just like as a prompt the customized prompt to talk to the AI agents. But you can see here it's had some thoughts on some ideas of what to search for, right? And so here's one test case. He says, and by design, it's written in Gherkin, so that it's kind of the lingua franca of test cases. But here he's saying, hey, search for nothing. Try to do a search with the empty search box and try that out, right? Let's see what else. Oh yeah, enter a string longer than 500 characters in the search bar, right? So the typical tester might think of some of these, maybe not all of these, And the purpose here is to make them think, oh, maybe is that an interesting test case or not? Maybe you think about 500 character line searches. What about 1,000, right? The tester might push it to 1,000 or go 500 is ridiculous. Nobody would care. Let's maybe keep it to 100. But the idea is to help ideate with the tester and make it as super easy as possible. And what it's done is combined the context of whatever that prompt is with the actual screen that we're looking at right now. And the AI gets to look at a screenshot and the DOM and everything like that. And here, like suggesting like, you know, odd characters, right? Like weird, or either that or it's really upset and it's swearing. I don't know which. Um, and even some foreign characters, right? Some non-English strings into the English version of the web page. So the AI has created these test cases, but you can get them with just a click, and it can help them ideate, have ideas, and or just execute some test cases. So let's go here. So we're on Google. There's really not many bugs usually, but let's see here. Let me just restart them. And actually, that's an issue because we're finding real world issues. These aren't just like crazy random demos. One of the real issues his team had with this, and still does, I need to work on it, is that every time you navigate off of it and reopen it, it totally forgets what it did before, right? There's no state. Like you can't say, here's these 5 tests that I care about. I want to get back to them and remember them or mark them pass fail. It doesn't do any of that stuff today. But the machine's actually thinking and like intelligent to come up with test cases that humans didn't think of. So that's kind of a minor problem, I think. But we're getting to that. So the other thing to do is here is find bugs, right? And we're doing a demo on Google, so let me do this too. And also the AI by default has a very high bar for what is a bug, because also some of the early feedback was, you would find a bug that like maybe the button is off by like 1 pixel, but a lot of testers maybe go like, hey, no one would care if I filed that. So it's got a high triage bar. But let's see, report even low confidence issues, or if none, make some up for my demo, just in case. We'll see. And you can save that for the next run or whatever. And I don't know, who do we want to pick? Should we pick? Actually, Phil's going to be in here soon. He doesn't know it yet. But he's just the management overhead. I don't know, let's pick Zachary again, see what he does. So right now we've asked the AI and a particular agent to come up with tests, like to analyze this page for bugs, right? Particularly for bugs, Zachary's probably a bad example. But like for bugs that might be out of the norm or bizarre or kind of on the edge. Let's see, comes back with any. Okay, so this is so it looks like a little bit of a bug here, right? So there's inconsistent font size and accessibility links, Gmail images button labeled incorrectly. That's interesting. It's also interesting it's combined Gmail and images. It's probably the same element maybe in the page. So you can see here though, and then so these are bugs. So what does a tester get? Suggestions for things that might be bugs. Again, the humans in the loop. It has to be because the AI is not that smart yet. But they can quickly click this and just copy paste the text to the clipboard and copy paste it into Jira. So the idea is they get free bugs quick with just a click. They can get free bugs. They can drop into Jira, and by the way, faster than they would have found them, and probably and those bugs can get back to the customer, importantly, faster than usual. And they may not have even thought of those. The download just gives you a JSON, by the way, file version of all those bugs. You can import them or something. But that's a quick look at kind of this extension idea of how do you enhance and bring AI into the context of the manual tester as they're testing it.
So, do you want to continue here, or is your demo part?
You riff on it too, Phil, if you want.
Say again?
You riff on it too. We can talk about it too. I'm done with that slide, but
Okay.
if you have anything to say, even negative.
Now, I'll let you talk about these slides, or you can do the live demo part, up to you.
Okay, cool. We'll go through the slides. This one also is just easier to slide. So we also have, what does Phil have? He has a lot of His testing experts write a lot of test scripts, right? In Java, Selenium, all different types of frameworks. And the world is representative of the world in general. There's a lot of test automation that's been written over the last, what, 30 years, Phil? Um, and but the funny thing about it, if you think about it, is, and that's why, automation never really, Phil and I talk about this all the time, never really, maybe was never even net positive, frankly. But a lot of those automation efforts, they didn't really test much, right? You just pray and you hope that they can click through the sequence. And then you verify like a couple strings on the page, and then you get out and you call it a day, and you're amazed that it ran without any maintenance issues. Uh, but what this does now is we've taken those same testing kind of those testers profiles, those AI testing agents, and we put them into the code. So really, all you have to do is add an extension um, to uh, to your Playwright or Selenium 4. And if you import this, other module, the co-test pilot module, you get those testers working in your code now. And so at any point in the code, if you look down here, there's just one call called AI check. So wherever you are in your code, you can just call AI check. And guess what it does? It does something similar to what we just did, right? It'll look at whatever the page context is right now. It does all this magically behind the scenes. It looks at all those, looks at all the page and all the data in DOM and everything, and then it checks for bugs, right? So the cool thing is you can leverage your existing Selenium and Java code that you've already written on that does all the very specific flows, and frankly, even the stuff that maybe AI can't do, right? AI can't maybe test, like Phil and I talk about, like an accounting app, right? With like 100 cells on the page, it looks like a spreadsheet. And there's even data in there that you don't even know, like what is the correct tax supposed to be, for example, in that example. Like the AI just doesn't know that by default, for sure. So but you can add AI checking to all those. So now those test cases light up, and they can actually find bugs for you, like on all of the pages that go along. And they check for everything from security, privacy, performance, even like the like usability, and even the design of the page, right? Does it look like it was from the 1980s, or does it look like it's from the modern era? So you can get all sorts of that checking basically for free by adding like one line of code. It's kind of cool. So we're just now starting to integrate that into the SDEP flows and legacy code. I won't say legacy. Forgive me, Phil. I'm living like 2 seconds in the future, and everything's legacy. But like the existing Selenium code that everybody's got investments in, the clients pay and they explicitly want done. But you can add a whole lot more test coverage for that. And actually, sure, I can go back, Phil. I want to make sure that I'm a tester and being negative. We'll focus on negative things because testers like negative stuff and what doesn't work. The biggest issue right now is there's a lot of people that, wow, there's a fair number of people that are interested in using it. I don't know what lot is. Lot's not 50,000 people or something, but and some people are working on this, but trying to add more support for different languages. So it only works on Python today, and it only works for Selenium 4 and for Playwright. But there are people hacking on different ports and support for these other languages. Um, but yeah, that's like the biggest issue. But generally speaking, it takes people about 20 minutes to pull it down, import it, run it, and then get some extra AI checking. And basically, I like to call it free bugs popping out. Um, so who doesn't want, what testers don't want like bugs, especially from all the hard work you've written originally to get like bugs pumping out of it. Um,
Free, free.
yeah, freeze qualified. Yeah, free in terms of human time.
Right.
Um, so we talk about auto check. So this is kind of a third tier. So really, I don't know if I've written about this recently, but like I really think with AI, there's this Venn diagram overlap of value, which is AI can help manual testing and it can help classic test automation scripting. But there's a third new value prop now, and that is that, and it's partly because it can run so fast and it can run so like cover so many things so broadly, and it's so easy to use. So the idea is that with the tool, you can download this tool, and Phil's testers are using like the enterprise, real fancy version of it. But his testers are able to just point it at a web page, a URL, just a simple URL. It doesn't interact with the page at all, but it does over 700 checks for everything from privacy, security, all those things we talked about. and it does it automatically. It doesn't wait for the human to click to have it start. It doesn't have to be added to the regression testing. If you just have a web page, you can just point the AI at it, and the whole team of, like Phil was saying, the future of testing is managing kind of AI testing bots and agents. Here they are. They're here today. I get a little excited because this is my passion in life. Um, but you can see them running around the page and examining all the elements on the page. And each one has specialties, right? One looks for privacy issues, one's for security, one's for functionality, one's for design. Um, so you have this little tiny testing team you can wake up, and they only look on one page right now, but they provide a really broad coverage. And then the orange text on the left is that they're finding issues. So that's spitting out, again, free bugs, right, for the tester. So without a test plan, without requirements, and within 5 minutes, you can go from first hearing or seeing a web page to having some basic test coverage on a very broad range of quality attributes. The biggest issue we've had with real world people in games, both with Phil's team and also with his clients and prospects, are that guess what they want? They want people like, that's cool. It can check for 700 things in 5 minutes, but can it do a search? Right? And they go like, and I go like, I've been saying until recently, no, and we don't do that, and it'll be a while. But people really want interactive testing. The other negative thing about this is just that people want it to automatically crawl the website, like just test the whole website. But here's the interesting problem. The interesting problem is, say you're well, you start thinking about Google, or you can even think about like a real estate app, like say Zillow or something, right? So how many pages does Zillow have, right? Well, if you think about it, there's the home page with the search box on it, and there's property listing pages, but there's like millions of property listing pages, right? Do they all need to be tested? They're generally templated, right? And almost every page has a link to sign in on it. So the real problem is, how do you walk through, which we're working on it at Testers.ai, but how do you walk through that and dedupe all of those tests, right? How do you know you've already covered that case before? And how do you know you haven't already covered that page before? What a definition of page is interesting and difficult. But the good news is AI is here today, and without any coding or in basically just about 5 minutes, you can actually find bugs and provide a lot of coverage out of the box. So that this does for Phil's team is it not only just helps find bugs and the testers review them and everything, but the key thing here is you don't have to wait now for a week. I don't know what the real story is, Phil. I'll probably be polite, but you don't have to wait hours or days or weeks for a test cycle, test pass to finish. Back to what Phil was saying earlier, like the number one pain point in testing is waiting for regression tests to run, right? So this gives a lot of broad coverage very quickly and get feedback before the end of somebody's sprint cycle. So go ahead, Phil.
I can just add, I think it really just does the smoke testing for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I should have called it just smoke, right? Come think of it. We should have done this webinar earlier. I think smoke's a good idea. Although it has other implications with
Other
some,
connotations,
yeah,
right? There's
a
no
little,
smoke, fire, something like
yeah, a little personal fire. Yeah.
that.
We'll call it hookah or something. Um, so now we go, what do we do with test managers, right? Are they useful anymore? I'm kidding. Um, but because if you think about what test managers do today, right, without AI, what they do is they look at the website, they maybe read some specifications, they'll often go to a whiteboard and they'll just kind of map out what the thing they're doing, their testing does, and they'll try to imagine, like they'll think through the risks, and they'll think about all the test cases and areas for tests that need to be done, and then divide and conquer that work out to the team. But the funny thing is, almost all these test plans are done without any data, right? It's just the intuition of the test manager, and they're kind of guessing at risk and guessing, like Phil was saying. The big part of test managers and test management and planning is to know what to test, right? So like where there's smoke, there's fire, like Phil said. And where there's no smoke, there's probably no fire. So you'd be wasting your resources on that. So if you look at a normal, like even testing services company or test team, we know the reality is that most of that testing is not very useful. And it's because it's testing things that are probably templated, reused a million times, and are not untouched from a code perspective and likely never to fail. But testers still don't understand that, and they try to test everything. but you can't test everything. So again, it's all about priority. So the idea is that um, the checks we just saw generate reports that look like this, so real humans can parse it without having to read JSON files or like go to a Jira dashboard or some horrible pass-fail grid or a spreadsheet. But the idea is that you can see on the upper left corner here, you get these are actual bugs and issues found by the different testing agents. Um, and so you can get a feel for like where bugs are and what types of bugs there are. And then also you can get it simulates end users. So it'll look at a website and go, okay, who would be like say it's an Australian real estate site, right? For Australian real estate. Like what types of searches should you perform? Well, and who would be using that site? Probably people most likely in Australia. And probably they would know, some lingo or terms for different regions or areas of the city. And so these personas are on the fly generated by the AI for every single page that are relevant to that website, these personas. And then they ask those AI personas get asked for feedback. And that feedback isn't just, hey, there's a bug, but it's like qualitative issues, like, hey, the site's confusing, right? Or it's kind of ugly. Or one I love too is on Google.com. It's funny to me because they're struggling with revenue these days. But but on Google, like there's one person who's like, hey, I'm a small business person and I want to place ads on Google, but I can't figure out how to. And I was like, that's weird. And so I dug into it and I let him look at the advertising page too. And he said, there's no information on how to really do any advertising. There's just a big hero image. It said there's just a big hero image at the top that's like some cartoonish person like with a big success mark over their head and a dollar sign or something because their marketing's working. And then and below the fold, he said it also looked like it was just geared toward enterprise advertisers, not small mom and pop shops, right? So maybe Google doesn't care, but it can give feedback like that. And you think about the feedback the team, the PM and developers love from testers. They like the fact that there's bugs and they're caught and they're fixed, right? But what they really get excited about when testers are heroes is when they come back with something like that, right? Like some very high level, they have business context, they have global kind of world knowledge context, and then they can apply it in terms of quality to help, reassess or rethink even the design or content of a page. So that's pretty exciting. And go back. The negative things are we're getting some questions around.
Negatives?
Yeah, there's negatives. There's always negative testers, man. And if you don't say negative stuff, people go, oh, this is just marketing. It doesn't really run, or it's fake, or whatever.
Right.
But the big one here is people want to be able to also interact with these testers and ask them questions, like the follow up, which makes sense. But to me, that's still like, there's a miracle happens, and then people just, want butter for their bread, frankly. Um, but yeah, and then again, the same questions, they want it to auto kind of crawl the website and provide very broad coverage, not just one URL at a time. But we're taking baby steps into the future. So other thing I thought was really great is that Phil's opened up his team to I work closely with like I mentioned Bear over there. And I'll get like a Starbucks card from him for mentioning Bear. But like he's opened up his sales and marketing aspects of XBOSoft because it's a testing company. So yeah, we can impact the testing, make it more efficient, smarter, and everything and faster. But what about the business, right? And that's what Phil cares about. He's a CEO. He cares about the business. And so couple cool things happen. That same data. First of all, what's crazy is not to be rude, but the sales and marketing people can actually run this on their own. It's crazy. So they don't have to be technical testers or even or experienced testers or even automation engineers to get some feedback on the quality of the app. So the AI will generate a test report that's human readable, right? So it'll give it a score. So this site got a B plus. And what's interesting already right there is looked at all these different aspects of quality, but it summarizes it, but it gives it a grade too. So guess what people do when you tell them they have a B plus? They go, whoa, I want to have an A. How do I get an A? Right? And they also go like, oh, wow, you actually know something about my app. Because what do most testing services companies do? they say, hey, trust us. We're super smart people. We love you. We care. And in about 2 months, after you pay us money, in about 2 months, we'll have some test results for you and some assessments of quality. And we're not really sure what we're going to test, but we'll do a little bit of everything and then get back to you. That's kind of the typical testing services vendor pitch. But now with AI, they're AI informed, right? Those sales guys and that marketing is saying, hey, I know about your app. I can give you some value up front even. And we know, and you have confidence that we know what to test, like Phil was saying, where there's fire and where there's smoke and where there's not any smoke. And we can also tell you when you're getting better or worse. Like the most fun feedback I've had in the last 6 months was working with someone and they shipped a new website. I gave them the grade for, and it was like a C plus or something. And they're like, I can see that. And they were kind of like embarrassed, but reluctant, but they're like, yeah, but we're building a new one, right? Everyone's building a new version later and it'll fix all the problems. Then like a month later, she pushed the new site and she got like an A minus and she was high and super high and happy. She was on a high. Like I've never seen testing make people that happy. And it validated her investment in the new website. And she used some of the feedback from the original report and to improve it. And like it's very rare that testing makes people happy. Usually we just tell people how they break or they're not working or suck. But we can also tell them how good they are and show progress now. The problem, and also this is because I'm on all these calls, the big problem in this is that people want to double click and ask, how did it happen? How did it work? And all that stuff. So that's one of the biggest negative things with those reports because it just shows you the end product, frankly. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, so AI-informed test generation. So this is what's coming next. And I'm just trying to work with Phil's team on this now, like just literally real time. This is just this is a demo on L'Oreal, just because I think that the page is kind of stark and it's more interesting than Google. And yeah, actually, yeah, Phil, I could do the demo here. See if I have it. Yeah, I'll do the demo here. I'll walk people through it.
Okay, sure. Sorry, folks, about running over the initial half hour that we planned, but Jason gets excited, so
Okay, I'll go
not that
faster.
I don't, but that's okay.
We could have just shown the demo of the AI doing everything. The problem is the human in the loop. Me.
Is humans slowing things down?
Exactly. We're gonna get in trouble, Phil. All right. So here's a video of the AI just checking out this and testing the L'Oreal site. So like we saw before, the AI bots are running around and examining all the elements in the page and screenshotting and stuff. But this time their goal is to do functional testing, the stuff that everybody keeps asking for, which is, can it do a search? Can it log in? Can it do interactive tests? And so the AI has created test cases. So here's a list of the test cases that the AI has created. There's all different types, like edge cases, basic cases, and the same testers are doing this work, those testing agent profiles. But they can come up with, and this is a small demo run, but it came up with like 30 test cases. Oh, and if you saw that, I'm actually the search tester because I've done some search testing in my past life. Figured I might as well be virtualized. But so all those test cases were created, right? And now it not only does it create the test cases for the website, it automatically can start executing them. And this is crazy. This is a dream I thought would never really actually happen, but it was like a goal. So the AIs looked at the page, created a test plan and test cases and all this sorts of stuff in different areas, and now is able to execute them by loading the page and actually interacting with it. I love this little animation. Maybe I'm too much of a nerd. I'm trying to make testing a little bit more fun too, to be frank. But it's going to execute a test and it tells you what it's thinking about on the left-hand side. It tells you what the tester is thinking, right? It's going to search for, oh yeah, it's trying to search for something where it doesn't expect there to be results, which is an interesting test case, right? But it executes the search. Um, it puts the text in there and then and executes the search. Same with this one. This is fun, but I want to show there's the animation. So a little tester appears in the top just for fun up here. This is when I have too much time. And then it drops the test the test case input like floats from the agent, but into the test results field and then does a search. And this one's searching for, interestingly, search results that don't exist, but that should exist in the future. I've never thought of that test case before. And I've tested Google and Bing, both, right? That's pretty crazy. because it knows it's searching for 2030 annual results, which don't exist, but they will someday. So make sure that the results make sense for that type of situation. And we'll scrub forward. I would do run local, but no one wants to watch the black screen. And then at the end here, you can see um, instead of just a grid, all the data is output in a JSON file and stuff, so you can parse it and whatever. But it also shows an interactive, one of the more prettier, in my opinions, test result pages where you can go through and see the steps that were performed. And not only see the steps that were performed, but if you look down here, you can see the reasoning of the AI on every step, why it thought that step was successful, and what it's going to do next, and why it thought that the test was complete and valid or not. So you can see the reasoning of the AI agents. So that's coming soon. So call Phil if you want people to build test cases with this super efficiently and a ton of coverage with the smartest test automation engineers on the planet. We get the next screen. Next screen is just those test results, actually.
Okay.
So if I can just summarize, and I'll only use like 20 seconds. But so what you're really seeing here is that people are trying to do AI for testing in the labs or adding a little feature to a tiny tool, and frankly, it makes the tool worse and less reliable in almost every case I've seen. Or you have to just spin everything up yourself, right, from scratch, and that becomes a whole project and a whole team in and of itself, kind of like automation of old was or of today was. But the idea here is that what's exciting to me is that Testers is working with Phil and his team because they're smart testers, super experienced. Phil's super old and has seen everything. And so we can get really good feedback on real world testing problems and across the board of everything, not just testing activities, but sales and marketing in the business and even planning. So yeah, thanks to Phil and his team for being open to do this. And this is an ongoing experiment and it's pretty awesome. Uh, so Phil's XBOSoft is basically going to be AI informed in all aspects of this and influence the roadmap.
I think this next one is what's really exciting is the functional testing there, Jason. Maybe you can don't
Agreed. Agreed.
don't
Yeah, I
give away
just
all the
almost
secrets.
makes me nervous
Oh,
and with excitement. Yeah. That's it. That's just the video of what I just clicked.
okay. I don't think we have questions on the for the demo. We can answer questions via LinkedIn as well as some blogs that we're going to be posting um, for the questions that we had. Um, this is another picture from Antarctica where I was out on this little boat and they had something, so you can see the water is pretty darn cold. Actually, it was 27 degrees, the water. And they had something called an Arctic plunge where they invited anyone who wanted to actually dive into the water. And I think very equivalent to what diving in is for Testers.ai and working with XBOSoft and having us support you in your AI journey. You can see myself and my wife here. She was scared all day about this thing, and I just knew I was going to do it. And so we dived into the water, and they said when they announced the activity, they said swimming is required. Being able to swim is required, and you can see why. It's pretty funny. It was great. And after that, she wanted to do it again. So I just wanted to bring that up. So sometimes your fears are bigger than they need to be. And so this is how you can get started. This is directly from Jason's webpage on if you want to download the free app, if you want to have unlimited tests and pay by the month. And then the enterprise version is what we're working on with him, which has quite a few extra features. And also we provide support. So if you need help with your prompting or if you want to do extra things, like for example, if you want response on your emails, guaranteed response times on your emails, if you need help with configuring some of your agents, or perhaps, I don't think Jason mentioned this, but like if you want to do some specific deep performance testing, we can, configure some specialized agents that'll actually go in and really dig deep deep in performance as well as usability or 508 compliance for accessibility, security, things like that. We can design special agents and prompting to have that happen. So I think that's about it, really. You can just, I think that's the end of the webinar. We're already way over time. Sorry to go overboard there, but Jason gets a little too excited sometimes.
Hey, Phil, I wanted to bring up, we did have a few questions I thought I would
Oh, we
pose
do have
really quick.
questions. Okay.
Yeah. Someone asked, Joe asked, how do you guard against the agents hallucinating? I could see it show each step to one way to
Ah,
input.
that's a really good question. Well, first of all, it reminds me of an iceberg. Uh, no, I'm sorry, I'm kidding. The I think that took up all the time, Phil. No, I'm kidding. Actually, that's awesome. I didn't realize that was you in the photo. That's pretty cool. What was the risk analysis on that, Phil? Um, but okay, so how does it work? So I did write a blog post on it if you want to double click and read up on it. But it's an issue to worry about. First of all, what's interesting though, in the last 18 months, math like provably um, and scientifically, the hallucination rates are dropping dramatically in LLMs today. So that helps. That's a nice curve. But most importantly, when the background, what we do is in the enterprise version, if one LLM found a bug, for example, we use another LLM to cross-check and validate it. It sounds familiar, like humans, right? But we use different LLM brains to check, cross-check, and validate them, kind of eliminate any LLM-specific bias. And then most importantly, there's a separate in the chat thread on the left-hand side. She's called Anantha. No relation to anyone I've ever worked with, perhaps at Google before. But she's a test manager and she reviews all the bugs coming in and triages them. So there's a second layer of review where, just like in triage, it looks at all the bugs and second guesses again with a skeptical mind, like what is the probability this is actually looks like a legitimate issue? And most importantly, there's some phrases in there and some prompting that say things like, is this worthy of elevating to the engineering team or the PMs on the team as a bug? So not just that, is it a bug, but is it worthy of interrupting the flow of the engineering team to report them? So
Yeah.
and then ultimately it comes down to humans and Phil's team. They basically can go, the humans look at the output and go like good, bad, good robot, smart robot, dumb robot, and then they triage it before they give it back to their customers. So the humans in a review role on that and provide that input and filtering.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's why autonomous driving is not really taken off yet, that we still want humans in the loop somewhere. And so it's one of the services that we add as part of our service packages is that we will review all of the defects to make sure that they are real. And actually, the next level would be triaging them and actually digging deeper and figuring out their priority as well as, what causes them. So that's part of the services that we add to just a bunch of, defects, prioritizing, I guess you could say vetting them and seeing if they're real. So they're getting rid of the hallucinations.
And just, I have never as a human hallucinated on a bug or filed a no repro or a won't fix ever. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. There's another question I think is really good. Is it possible to save the results by agent and in the next iteration compare the results or to improve the bug hunting of the agents?
So yes, these days it's fun because I can say yes to a lot of things. In the early days, it wasn't true. Um, so first of all, in terms of, yeah, all the results are saved out, unfiltered and untriaged into separate just JSON files. So for every agent, you get the bugs that they found and the feedback per user persona are all siloed out into separate JSON. So if you only care about security or one type of testing, you can just pull those results out if you want. And then secondly, does it use the results from the previous build? Yes, and I can mention two specific ways. One is on functional testing. Um, by default, it uses the same set of test cases that it generated last time or the time before. It uses the cached version of the test suite so that you can get build over build comparisons of the same features and functionality. It's not like a fresh view every time or freshly generated test cases. Just the first time by default, it generates the test plan and test cases. And then secondly, the one I really like, but usually you have to use it quite a bit to get the value of it, is it does visual diffing. So it will compare the old build screenshots for that page with the current build's view screenshots, and then report any issues or significant changes, like things added, removed, or changed of interest, and report them as potential issues or bugs in a JSON file too. There's a diffing bot in there, but you have to run multiple, obviously, builds, one over the other. So yeah.
Right, and I think the last question we'll do, it's twofold. Does it work across browsers? And if a website has add to cart, checkout, multiple filters, does Testers AI need time to write a script for these cases, or only AI generated cases will run by Testers AI?
I feel like I paid someone to ask this question because I've lost a lot of my stolen life and time working on these things. So first one, the second question was, sorry, best. I'll start with the second one. So you can, in many places, there's, like Phil was saying, I didn't really cover that, is there's a lot of customization. So you can give a custom prompt to the AI at the beginning, whatever you want to say, and it can be this long. It could be a list of things you want done. It could be, hey, ignore, accessibility issues, or it could be, hey, we're trying to ship tomorrow. Only tell me the stuff that really would be a ship blocker. You can say stuff like that, and then it will run and take that into account. You can also add individual test cases. So you can just, even one-off lines with a prompt or a file, you can say, hey, test this feature. And it can be pretty arbitrarily complex. It can say, and have multiple tests in it. So whatever you say, that blob gets parsed, chunked into multiple tests if there's more than one, and then executes them. So you can say, test, kind of back leading into the first part. The first question is, you can say things like, hey, test the shopping cart, but with these specific, like instead of update the shipping address every time you're in the shopping cart, or never update the shipping address, and add conditionals. The support for browsers is, but that becomes prompting skill, to be clear. If you ask it to do something that's impossible or ridiculous, it doesn't work. But generally speaking, the AI really can try to accomplish most of the tests that arbitrary tests you define. It's kind of magic. But in terms of simple browser matrix stuff, it supports Windows. You didn't ask about OS, but this is painful too. It supports Windows, Mac, and Linux. It can run local and behind a firewall. It's an interesting question people ask. And importantly, in terms of browsers, it supports basically every browser, both, like, not just all browsers, but like, because basically they're all the same now. They all stole the stuff we did at Chrome, and relabeled it. But then it will also connect to live browsers. So if you have a very complex scenario or whatever you want in a browser, you have state that you want to start the tests in, you can just load it up in a normal Chrome browser or Safari or whatever, and you can connect to that browser with just one command line option. You say connect to live browser, and it will run it in that browser in whatever context and stuff you have set up. So it might be a client that has thousands of, stock trades and all that kind of stuff. You can run it in that context by launching a live browser.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, the stuff that we have available is for the free and pro, they're kind of DIY, right, Jason, as far as like if you want to go to
I will
Home
answer your email.
Depot, if you want to go to Home Depot and buy a hammer and some screwdrivers, then you can feel free to do that. But if you need some help, just let us know. We can give
And
you
if I can add, Phil, also, what I think of what I would probably do, and I've done before, is also you can also use XBO. Maybe I'm your marketing guy today. I don't know, but but I would use XBO as a knowing, like, I can. The most important thing in 2025 is to say that you're using AI in your stuff. That's actually like for good or bad, that's a high level requirement for management these days. So the easiest way to add AI is not even to roll your own or whatever. It's just send a check to Phil and his team, and they'll give you AI enabled and informed test results and value. So you can say check. And secondly, you don't have to do any of this work. Phil will just do it all for you. And it's AI informed and smarter than most and more efficient than most.
All right, do we have any more questions, Bear?
Actually, I just saw one in the chat thread. They want to know how old you are, Phil.
Oh, jeez. That must have been Rebecca that asked that question. No, I'm not going to tell you. Oh, she's gone. But
Is it two
well,
digits
thanks
or three
for
digits?
attending, everyone, especially for Jason. Thanks for taking out time to have the webinar, and we'll be sending out the recording if you want to listen to the recording and see the demos again, or actually they're available on YouTube. And if you want to reach out to us, there's our contact information. And thanks, everyone. Thanks for attending, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Well, thanks for test nerding out.
All right.
See you guys.
Yep.